A major one, I would say, is the industrialization of the attacks, be it fraud attacks, security attacks. The size of them is nowhere near what we have seen in the past, be it on voice. We know it has been impacting operators for years. Now also enterprises with a massive impact when there's an attack. Maybe there are less of them in number, but the impact of them is massive and huge. SMS, the same. It's impacting lately hugely operators, but also enterprises. And the same for the signaling attacks that were considered to be very high-end attacks that required a lot of knowledge, but eventually we see that it's also industrializing. There are applications out there that allow anybody almost to launch an attack. And that kind of takes us to the other trend, the ubiquity regarding the technology and the telecom service. We can see a correlation in the attacks, the kind of and the shape and schemes that are used for voice are reproduced now quite successfully, unfortunately, for SMS. And then the third trend is something that we had already been seeing since, I would say, 2019, is the focus on end users and now also on enterprises. So we are moving away from the sole purpose of finding loopholes in the operators' networks or commercial plans to move into a focus on end users very heavily with the SMS attacks, the voice attacks, the signaling attacks, and also on enterprises. So enterprises seem to be a big focus for the bad guys. They are less well protected than operators, and I'm afraid they are learning the hard way. So the telecommunications is an ecosystem. There are many different parties, and each party has a very specific role to play. And because fraud is very often international and comes from the international links, because they are harder to protect in general, it seems like each party with a different role to play in also fraud protection and vulnerability protection. So we should move away from silos. Operators should do this, and enterprises should do that, and carriers should do that. The whole ecosystem has to work together to be really effective. Now, as I said before, many of the attacks come from the international links. Each party is quite an expert in their own activity, but the international landscape is very complicated, very wide, very big. And knowing and learning how the attacks are happening somewhere else are very effective in protecting anybody. So if we know an attack is happening with a given scheme somewhere, once you know about it, it becomes much easier to protect against that same scheme and that same attack. And this is what we are bringing. BICS has a very wide reach worldwide, and we see a huge number of attacks, unfortunately, happening every day. We learn about this. And these learnings, we bring them to our customers. It's key, I believe, for enterprises to know how to protect against ongoing attacks. It's key for operators to know which are the threats impacting or possibly impacting soon their network. So knowing about the bad actors and how these bad actors perpetrate the attacks is key in building the right protection.